Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. I'm Rabbi Aviva Bass. I'm not sure if Jake said he is Cantor Jake Harris, but I am here with Cantor Jake Harris. We are going to start this evening's service with candle lighting. And if you can turn to your Mishkan Tefillah prayer book, if you have one, the candle lighting is found on page 384. 384. And as this is both Shabbat and Simchat Torah, we're going to say Shabbat V'Shel Yom Tov. Please join me in lighting the candles. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shel Shabbat v'Shel Yom Tov. Amen. May these festival lights open our eyes to the joys in life, beauty that delights the eye, freedom to be ourselves, the knowledge of Torah that shapes our moral being, the heritage of celebration that unites us as a people. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, for giving us life, sustaining us, and enabling us to reach this season. Please join me in the Shehecheyanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehecheyanu, v'kiyimanu, v'higiyanu, lazman hazeh. Amen. And now we start our service with a song. Cantor Jake.
Thank you, Rabbi Aviva. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So our first song of the evening, a song to sing to God, and that is going to be something that can be found anytime you open your mouth, really. I mean, we say that we're going to sing a song to God, but everyone's like, I'm not really a singer. You don't want to hear my voice. I got kicked out of the choir when I was a young kid. That's what I swear, everybody comes up to me and they say that. But singing a song to God doesn't necessarily have to be a melody. It can be a thought or a desire. And my favorite scene from The Music Man is singing is just slow talking. So for our first song, let's turn to page 130 for Lahu Narana. We have a little bit of a special treat for you tonight. Hopefully all is sound technology-wise, because y'all know how it is. But we're actually going to be joined by our Temple Sinai Shabbat band. And we got Jake on the drums, Jake on the keyboard, and Jake on the bass. So I hope that you will enjoy our Shabbat band. Lahu Narana, page 130. My book had closed in front of me. Bear with me, folks. This is the time when the band is tuning their instruments. All good. Lahu Narana l'Adonai, Naria litzur yishenu. Lahu Narana l'Adonai, Naria litzur yishenu. V'kadmach nabitoda bizmiro Naria lo. Running ria lo. Ki el gadol Adonai, el melech gadol al kol Elohim. Ki el gadol Adonai, el melech gadol al kol Lahu Narana Lahu Narana
Hello. Hopefully we will not have any more technical difficulties this evening. So we're so happy to be here with you from Temple Sinai of Palm Beach County in Delray Beach, Florida. And tonight is not only Shabbat, it is Simchat Torah. And so I'd like to read to you a poem that is not in our prayer book about the Torah. It is by Nancy Lee Gossels. Somewhere out of time, in the mystery of time, somewhere between memory and forgetfulness, dimly though, I remember how once I stood at your mountain trembling amid the fire and the thunder. How I stood there out of bondage in a strange land and afraid. And you loved me, and you fed me, and I feasted on your words. And yes, I can remember how the thunder was my heart, and the fire was my soul. God, I do remember. The fire burns in me anew, and here I am once more, a witness to that timeless moment. Present now in the light of your Torah, I am reborn. Before we begin tonight's service in earnest, I'd like to read our sponsors and donors. Thank you so much to all of you who have contributed to help to make our offerings possible. Tonight's Erev Shabbat service is sponsored by James Hurt. It's not just Erev Shabbat, it's Erev Simchat Torah. And James Hurt contributed to make that possible. And the following donations to the community food pantries are sponsored by Warren Bennett in memory of Zelma Bennett, Donna and Larry Lopater in memory of Sylvia Lopater. Thank you all for your contributions. And now we join with Cantor Jake as he leads us in the festival Kiddush.
All right, so for those who have the Mishkan, as Rabbi Aviva may have alluded to, 386 for the festival Kaddish. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol am, veromamanu mikol lashon, v'kirishanu b'mitzvotav. ותיתן לנו, אדוני אלוהינו באהבה, שבתות למנוחה ומועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון את יום השבת הזה, ואת יום השמיני חג העצרת הזה, זמן שמחתנו מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו ונחרת, ואותנו קירשת מכל העמים ושבת, ומועדי קודשך באהבה וברצון, בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת ישראל והזמנים. אמן. לחיים. All right, so now that we have sanctified our drink, I'd like to call back the Shabbat band. And in addition to James Hurt for sponsoring our service, I'd like to give a special shout out for the music tonight to Mr. Harvey Feingold, an ardent supporter of the music here at Temple Sinai. So while I was programming these tracks, Harvey, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about all those talks that we have. And I think about what it means to be called to worship. So when I'm calling out to you in this Baruch Hu, I hope that you'll respond wherever you're at, and know that even if I can't hear you through the TV, I know that you're there, and I hope that you're prepared. So let's sing together the Baruch Hu. Am I awake? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Hu et Adonai.
And now we come to words that are actually found in our Torah. They are thought of by many people to be the most important words of our Torah and perhaps the most important words in our faith. They're actually not a prayer at all, but really a declaration of our belief in the one God that unites us all and from whom we come and to whom we give thanks because we are made in that image, in the divine image. So with that, we turn to Shema, and you can find Shema on pages 400 and 401 in our festival prayer book. If it is your custom to rise for Shema, please do so now. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu Le'olam vaed. Directly following the Shema, right in the Torah, are these words, the Ve'ahavta. If you are standing, please take a seat as we read them together. Page 402. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, Emet. In our tradition, we are taught that doubt is actually encouraged. We are the children of Israel, the God wrestler. Yisrael means he who wrestles with God. And we all follow in that tradition. And so we turn to page 405 in preparation for our tefillah as I read this reading at the bottom of the page about doubt. Doubting is but the forefront of faith, a faith in the infinite growth of an unbounded creation. A doubting age is one of restlessness and discontent with what is current. A doubt is an idea that is still alive. To doubt that the past has uncovered all things is to express faith that many things are still to be uncovered. To doubt that we have grown to our full stature and knowledge is to express faith that we may develop into beings of such power and dignity that we cannot as yet imagine what shall be. We rise together as we prepare for the tefillah on page we're going to skip some pages here in our festival evening service and we turn to page 468 to begin the tefillah. Page 468 in our Mishkan Tefillah.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagit tehilatecha. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagit tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם וזורת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. לברכה ולא לקלה, לחיים ולא למוות, לשובע ולא לרצון. For blessing and not for curse, for life and not for death, for abundance, not want. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. שלום
We have come to the time in our service when we think of those who are sick. And first to come to mind is the President of the United States and the First Lady of the United States. And we also pray for the healing of all of those who have been infected or affected by the coronavirus. If you are thinking of someone who is in need of healing of mind, body, spirit, or of all three, please say their names aloud now. And so now we add to those names all of the list of names of those we know of who are in need of healing at this time as we sing together Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach on page 371.
Of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We now come to our Torah service, which for Simchat Torah involves the end of reading the end of the Torah scroll and then starting right back, all the way back at the beginning. Here's my video. Hi, there I am. So what we're going to do tonight is that Jake will be finishing the reading of the Torah scroll and I will be beginning it, because we need to start right away, because the Torah is actually, it looks like a finite scroll, but if you look deeper, you will see that it is actually a circle. It keeps going and going, or even a spiral. Let's start here. Spiral going up ever higher as we go through the years and read each parsha, each Torah portion together. So I'm going to invite the entire congregation to rise for a Torah aliyah, an aliyah to the Torah. We lift up the Torah by our voices and chant it. And between when Cantor Jake will be reading the end of the Torah and when I will be reading the beginning, we will show the scroll rolling from Deuteronomy back to Genesis. And what's very interesting about this is that the very last word, if you listen very closely, you'll hear the very last word of the Torah ends with a lamed. It's the word Yisrael. And then the very first word in the Torah is a bet, which is the same letter as a vet. It becomes a bet when it's at the beginning of a word or a syllable. But anyway, it's a bet. And that vet with the lamed vet, is lave. And what is lave in Hebrew? It is the heart. And so our Torah is the heart of our Judaism and of our tradition. And so for that reason, I'd like to invite you all to join us as we turn to the Torah service, and Cantor Jake leads us in our Aliyah.
Baruchu et Adonai Hamvorach, Baruch Adonai Hamvorach leolam vaed, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et Torato, Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Amen. Amen. V'lo kam navi od b'Yisrael k'Moshe asher yad'o Adonai panim el panim lechol haotot v'hamoftim asher shlacho Adonai לעשות בארץ מצרים, לפרוע ולכל עבדיו ולכל ארצו, ולכל היער החזקה ולכל המורה הגדול, אשר עשה משה לעיני כל ישראל. Chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek. Never again did there arise in Israel a prophet like Moses, whom the Lord singled out face to face, for the various signs and portents that the Lord sent him to display in all the land of Egypt against Pharaoh and all his courtiers and his whole country, and for all the great might and all awesome power that Moses displayed before all of Israel. And with that, may you be strengthened.
And let's do the closing blessing for the Aliyah that you've just done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torat emet, v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. All right, now, so we were getting up that video so we can actually watch as Deuteronomy becomes Genesis. So this is courtesy of the Pinner Liberal Synagogue in Northwood. And wherever that's at, if anybody knows, then thank you to them. So here we go. And as we go through, we may stop in a couple key spots.
So remember, we're starting at Deuteronomy. We just saw very quickly Ha'azinu, the song that Moses sings towards the end of his life and towards the end of the Torah. And now we're coming back. Oh, you saw a space. And that space was between books, between the book of Bamidbar and the book of Devarim, the book of Numbers and the book of Deuteronomy. Now we're going back in Numbers or Bamidbar.
There we go. There's that space that you're talking about, Rabbi Viva.
And there's another one. There we go. There's a space. And that one starts Bamidbar. You'll see it says, Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe Bamidbar Sinai. And God spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. Okay, so let's keep going back because now we are, that was starting Bamidbar. So we're now back in Vayikra, back in Leviticus. Oh, we just saw another big space, and that big space showed us where Vayikra was beginning. That's okay, we can keep going.
Oh, okay. There it is.
Oh, okay. You want to just open that back? Can we go back?
Okay, it's gone.
Okay.
I see the very corner of it right here. And if you look in the bottom left corner, Vayikra is just leaving us.
Okay, that's great. So now we're in Shemot or Exodus. And I am very excited. Oh, we just passed the 10 Commandments. And now we are at the Song at the Sea. You'll see it looks like, I think it looks actually like the Israelites going through the sides of the water on either side. But this is the song that they sing on the other side when they come through, and it contains the Mi Chamocha. If you look carefully in the very middle, you can see Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai.
If I had the power to zoom in on it, I totally would. But I think I can even see it from right in here.
Right there. Yep. There it is. Exciting. Okay, wow. So let's keep going back. Up, and now let's stop again. And you'll see that says Ve'ele Shemot, those first two words after that big space, which means, and these are the names. And that begins the book of Shemot, which is the book of Exodus. And so now we're going back to Bereshit, the first book of the Torah, Genesis in English. And let's see if anything jumps out at us. There's a lot of blocks of texts. Oh, wow. That was really fast. Okay.
So I just want to say, we at Temple Sinai would never condone rolling a Torah scroll that quickly. That video, we actually sped up. We sped that video up. So we would not roll a scroll that quickly. That would be dangerous for the scroll.
Yes. But that was very good for the video to make it very clear. So thank you very much to Cantor Jake for doing that. So now we're going to read the first part of the Torah, Bereshit, and I'm going to invite you all to rise for this aliyah. Can we get the
You betcha.
The picture?
Here comes Torah.
Here comes Torah, but we're going to say the bracha. Oh, there you go, the big bet. It actually looks like a vet because you don't have dots in the actual Sefer Torah. But let's say the bracha for Torah, the aliyah. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah. Amen. Amen. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz ve'ha'aretz hayta tohu vavohu ve'choshech al panei tehom ve'ruach Elohim merachefet al panei hamayim vayomer Elohim yehi or vayhi or vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov vayavdel Elohim bein ha'or uvein ha'choshech vayikra Elohim la'or yom v'la'choshech kara laila vayhi erev vayhi voker yom echad. In the beginning of God's creating of the heavens and the earth, when the earth was astonishingly empty, with darkness upon the surface of the deep, and the divine presence hovered over the surface of the waters, God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated between the light and the darkness. God called to the light day, and to the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning, one day, or day one. And that is why actually we start every holiday with the evening, with the candle lighting, is because it was evening and then morning in each of the days of creation. So we think of evening as beginning the day. And now let's say the bracha for the end of the aliyah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen. So if you're standing, please be seated. And I'd like to just give us all a blessing. Misha Beirach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'imotenu Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah. May the Holy One who blessed all our ancestors bless all of us at Temple Sinai, in our community, and in our virtual community all over the globe, with good health, long life, and joy, and peace and success in all our undertakings. May we be peaceful and successful. May we have joy and peace in our homes and in all of the world. And let us all say, Amen. One of the famous quotes in Torah is Lo Bashamayim Hi, which literally means it is not in the heavens. It's from Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 12. I'm going to move this so that you can see the top of my head. There we go. Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 12. And the entire quote is, it is not in the heavens, meaning the Torah is not in the heavens, that you should say, who will go up to heaven for us to tell it to us so we can fulfill it? And then the Torah says, and it's not in the sea, so that we can say, who will go across into the sea to get it for us? And then the Torah says, rather, this thing is very close to you. It is in your mouth and in your heart, so you can fulfill it. It is not in the heavens. It's close to us. So how the Torah is described in this section of Torah as being in our hearts and our mouths, so close to us, is how we feel about our most sacred object, the Sefer Torah, our Torah scroll. It's our most sacred ritual object as Jews. And it is treated both lovingly and caressed, and also as something far away, something we have to take care of. We protect, we don't touch the front of it, not only because the oils of our fingers will get on the parchment and take off the print, but also out of reverence. We have reverence for the Sefer Torah. And it has been rescued from burning buildings. People often run into where the Torah is kept, the ark, when a fire alarm goes off. We want to save the Torah scroll or scrolls. It's been hidden away in basements and even underground in times of trouble. And tragically, horrifically, people who are our martyrs, the rabbis that were martyred of our people, and throughout history, some of them were actually wrapped in the parchment of Torah scrolls, and they were set aflame. And so they went with the Torah. So our Torah scroll is very, very important to us. In March of 1944, I'd like to tell you a story about 1944. A 13-year-old boy named Joachim Yosef became a bar mitzvah. Now, this would not have been anything remarkable. I mean, it was remarkable for his family, but there were many b'nai mitzvah here in the United States during 1944. But this bar mitzvah service took place in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. In the flickering light of 4 candles that inmates had scrounged up, Rabbi Shimon Dasberg opened up a tiny miniature Torah scroll, a kosher scroll with kosher parchment, only 4.5 inches high. Kosher meaning fit for use, that it was actually on parchment, not paper, and written by a scribe painstakingly to make it fit for use, only 4.5 inches high. And Rabbi Dasberg opened this Sefer Torah, this treasure, which he had managed to smuggle in to Bergen-Belsen. And he had covered it in red velvet and tucked it into a small green box. And then he took it out that day before sunrise and opened it up so that it could be read by Joachim Yosef. So on that day in March 1944, Joachim had an aliyah to the Torah and read from this kosher parchment and became a bar mitzvah. His fellow inmates were thrilled, were so excited to see him become bar mitzvah. This was something that gave them hope for survival, at least the survival of our Judaism, our tradition. And so they gave him whatever gifts that they could have scrounged up for this occasion. So one of them gave him a very tiny pack of playing cards that he had managed to get a hold of, and another, a single piece of chocolate that he was able to acquire. But Rabbi Dasberg gave Joachim the best gift of all. He gave him this Sefer Torah, this kosher Torah scroll from which Joachim had read. He said to him that he didn't think that he would survive. So the rabbi gave it to Joachim and said to him, "Please take this and take good care of this. And if you survive, God willing, the one condition that I have for you is that you tell the story." Well, Joachim did actually survive, and he grew up to be a scientist living in Israel. He befriended Ilan Ramon, who was the first Israeli astronaut who noticed the scroll while he was having dinner one night at Joachim's home. He noticed the scroll on a shelf. And Joachim agreed when he asked him, Ilan Ramon asked him, "Could I please take this scroll up to space? Could I borrow this and take it into space with me?" And Joachim agreed. And he took the tiny Torah scroll with him, Ilan Ramon, on his fated 2003 mission aboard the space shuttle Columbia. Ramon, whose own mother survived Auschwitz, said from the space shuttle, and this is a quote, "It, the Torah, represents more than anything the ability for the Jewish people to survive. From horrible periods, black days, to reach periods of hope and belief in the future." Well, I think we all know how this story ended, with tragedy. Tragedy struck 11 days after he had made this comment, when the shuttle disintegrated upon re-entry to the Earth's atmosphere. Ramon and the 6 astronauts were killed. The Torah scroll, this tiny Torah, was never found. However, Joachim's Torah scroll had a sister Torah. There was another miniature Torah scroll that had been smuggled into Bergen-Belsen, and that Torah was brought aboard the space shuttle Atlantis in 2006. This was the very first trip in space after the horrible 2003 tragedy. And the Torah was brought aboard by Steve McLean of Canada. Now, Steve McLean had been very close friends with Ilan Ramon. Actually, their children played together and they knew each other very well. And he was very deeply in mourning after the accident of 2003. And Ilan's widow, who's named Rona Ramon, asked Steve, her close friend, to bring the sister Torah up into space on the next flight after the accident. And although Steve wasn't Jewish, he understood the deep importance of the Torah scroll to our people. And so he took the Torah into space It stayed in the shuttle hold. He didn't read from it, but it did go up into space. And he felt, when he brought that Torah scroll back with him, that in this way he felt he completed Elon's mission. Lo bashamayim hi. The Torah is not in the heavens. But maybe, thanks to a rabbi, a bar mitzvah boy, the inmates at Bergen-Belsen, and an astronaut, maybe, just maybe, it is. Zichronam livracha, may all the memories of Rabbi Dansberg, all those who were murdered by the Nazis at Bergen-Belsen and elsewhere, and the memory of Ilan Ramon be a blessing to us all. And let us think of them the next time we open a Torah scroll and remember how others had to sacrifice so much to be able to do so themselves. Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach. And now for some songs about the Torah for Simchat Torah.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and call back the Temple Sinai Band of Jakes. You thought one was bad enough. Hey, just you wait. We got 6, 7, perhaps even 8. Just kidding. There's only about 3, maybe 4 tops in this band. But so, Torah Tzivat Lanu Moshe. I hope that wherever you're at, you will sing for the Torah. Oh, looks like I'm getting a call from above. Where's that voice coming from? Oh, wow. Nope, that's just one of my bandmates calling from the side. What was that? Oh yeah, rock and roll, Torah style. Torah, 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 Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Mereshek Kehilat Yaakov, Mereshek Kehilat Yaakov, Mereshek Kehilat Yaakov, Torah Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Torah Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Torah Tzivat Lanu Moshe. Yisrael ve'oraita ve'kudesha berichu charchu. Yisrael ve'oraita ve'kudesha berichu charchu. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah, hallelujah. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah, hallelujah. Yisrael ve'oraita ve'kudesha berichu charchu. Yisrael ve'oraita ve'kudesha berichu charchu. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah, hallelujah. Torah ora, Torah ora, hallelujah. through our Torah, we live as Jews. Call the band back in for our last of the Torah songs. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai, Am Yisrael Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Od Avinu, Od Avinu, Od Avinu Chai. Am Yisrael Chai. And now, on page 586, we rise for the Aleinu. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
There are stars up above. So far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. On this Shabbat, we remember those whose yahrzeits, the anniversary of their passing, occurred at this time in years past. Those whose names are on the plaques surrounding our sanctuary: Theodore Aaron, Godfrey M. Aronson, Phyllis S. Bastaki, Jesse Bayer, Zelma Bennett, Ida Bergman, Joseph Goldbert, Sylvia Wolf Levinson, Ronald Mandler, Jonathan Palmer, Judith Ripp, Robert T. Silver, and this is not Bob Silver, who we know. This is a different Robert T. Silver. Albert Silverman, Bernard Spivak, Benjamin L. Stein, Evelyn Stitch, A. Jack Sweet, and Millicent Walter. Others recalled at this time: Sidney Arst, Sam Chazen, Randy Cohen, Joseph Corwin, Sidney Dater, Michael Gust, Stanley Hirsch, Lenore Jaffe, Sally Levy, Sylvia Lopater, Jeffrey A. Rafelson, Bernard Resnick, Raymond Schneider, Frida Silverberg, and Robert M. Simon. We also recall the more recent deaths of Bill St. John, Bruce Wogkin, Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Marilyn Miller, Tanya London, and Etta Kuttner. If you are recalling someone tonight whom I have not named, please say their name aloud now. And now, in memory of all of those names that we mentioned, as well as those who are murdered in the Shoah, we rise in solidarity with mourners everywhere as we recite the Mourner's Kaddish, page 598. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divarach yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'v'chayedecho Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'izman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal, shemei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, v'ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who mourn among us and in all communities of the world. And let us all say, Amen. Please take a seat as we prepare for our closing song together.
All right, so for us, as we said, as Rabbi Aviva said, Torah is life. Life is Torah in the knowledge that we gain and the knowledge that's in the scroll and everything in between. So it's a lifelong learning that we engage in as Jews. That's one of our commandments, is to continue to learn, continue to enlighten ourselves. So I hope that you'll sing along with myself and our Temple Sinai band. Thank you for everyone who made this possible with the band. And if you have any questions on to how the band is done or any of the players involved, I know I joke about it, but drop us a line at Temple Sinai. And if you're watching from somewhere that's outside of Delray Beach, Florida, we welcome you. And within Florida and Delray, we welcome you too. And hope that you'll join us again next week. Same time, same place, right here. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree. Shalom, 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 shalom. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and Chag Sameach.